unless it's in a big
Oh, go ahead. No standing. Good to see you, Wayne. I can't stay.
You're not gonna come back and hear the call up?
I'm listening. I'm listening. Interested.
Patrick, so make it a little longer next time. I like that.
We're going to call our assembly to order, and I recognize Councilor Kennedy for our prayer pledge today.
A moment of silence for all of our first responders who do such a fantastic job every day with themselves out on the line.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we get on to the regular meeting, I would just like to acknowledge the fact that a person from my district won the voice. Her name is Bryn Cartel.
Yes.
And I think that the governor should come out and we'll have her sing for her.
I think that's a great idea.
Acting governor for the day, I think that's great.
Yes.
All right, we will follow up on that important matter. Councilor Hurley, why don't you think about making a motion now to record advice and consent for the financial warrant?
So moved.
All in favor, say
Aye.
Councilor Casey for a motion to record advice and consent of the pending list of notaries, public and justice of the peace. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye. And I recognize Councilor Ionella for a motion to record advice and consent of the appointment of Eric T. Tubman to the position of clerk magistrate in Boston Municipal.
Thank you, so moved. Outstanding appointment.
Second.
We may commence the roll call. Oh, no. Before we do that, Councilor Jubilo, then Councilor Van.
Very briefly, superb.
I just have to say, next time, we should have more like this.
Anyone else? Okay, we can commence the roll call.
Councilor Ionella.
Yes.
Councilor Duff.
Yes.
Councilor Kennedy.
Yes.
Councilor Casey.
Yes.
Councilor Hurley.
Yes.
Councilor Trudeau.
Yes.
Councilor Devaney.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Councilor Jubilo for a motion to put advice and consent to the appointment of Joseph L. Michaud to the position of Associate Justice of the House.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
I just wanted to comment that, I'm not looking for a perfect nominee, but honesty is the most important quality in anyone, especially a judge. And there were a couple of questions that I asked, and he was so honest that he did not know, those particular the questions that I was asking to answer. So I just wanted to put that in the record, that I was impressed with that, and that's all I wanted to say. So.
Thank you. Okay, we have a motion and a second. We may begin roll call.
Councilor Duff.
Yes.
Councilor Kennedy.
No.
Councilor Casey.
Yes.
Councilor Hurley.
Yes.
Councilor Trudeau.
No.
Councilor Devaney.
Yes.
Councilor Ionella.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, so we will now have Councilor Ionella for a motion to put advice and consent to the appointment of Kathleen E. Whalen to the position of public administrator.
So moved. So
Second.
moved.
There's no roll call necessary. All those in favor?
Aye.
Omar Hernandez is looking for reappointment to the Industrial Accident Board. He is someone familiar to all of us, and it would be for a term expiring December 29th, 2023. Councilor Hernandez.
Lieutenant Governor, the first opening is June 6th, so I will have the hearing at 11 o'clock on June 6th. And I also have something I want to bring up, Lieutenant Governor, and I will read my statement and I will give it to you. And
All right,
it's to the governor, and it's to the governor and to the Lieutenant Governor. I have been outraged by the rulings which Judge Feely has made not only recently but in the past. The latest case was giving probation to a heroin drug dealer. Judge Feely said he was providing for his family. Judge Feely didn't want to put this drug dealer in prison because he would get deported. I have had 2 close friends who lost sons from heroin overdoses. This judge thinks it's okay to sell drugs. Just 2 examples of this judge's egregious rulings. He released a previous criminal who then killed a police officer. Another was guilty of multiple rapes of a 12-year-old girl. In accordance with Massachusetts Constitution, Chapter 3, the governor, with consent of the council, may remove this judge upon the address of both houses of the legislature. I am submitting this constitutional process so that the governor will be prepared if the legislature votes a bill of address. Respectfully submitted, Marilyn Petito Giovanni. And this is the process of removing judges. Thank you.
Madam Chair, Madam President.
Councilor Jubindell and then Councilor.
Well, let me just correct the record. I think it was misstated that Judge Feely endorses selling illegal drugs. I don't believe he ever made that statement or he ever ruled on that issue. And what gets me is, not only here, but in the press, people criticize judges, and they weren't even in the room when the judge made the decision, heard what he or she heard, had access to criminal records, had access to probation, had access to witnesses, and made a decision based on what he or she had. We may disagree with that decision, but we shouldn't criticize it because every judge that makes a decision, every clerk that makes a decision, every governor's counselor that makes a decision on a nominee, we're one step away from a tragedy if that nominee or that judge or that clerk releases somebody or the parole board releases somebody and they commit a crime. That is unfair. Nobody rules with a crystal ball. So I'm gonna say that Judge Feely, in my view, having been before him numerous times, is very cautious, very thinking. It takes every bit of evidence and does a good job in making a decision. And some I've agreed with it, some I haven't. But he does the best he can with what he thinks is proper. No judge in this Commonwealth is going to release somebody knowing they're going to commit a crime or hurt somebody. No judge is going to do that at all. So I don't think it's fair to criticize somebody when you weren't in the room and you didn't know what was said or done.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Kennedy.
Councilor Jubenville and I very rarely agree, but on this one, he's dead on. Judge Feely's getting a raw deal from the press. He's getting a raw deal all around. We cannot second guess the decisions that judges are making in court. That to do so would impinge upon the independence of the judiciary. We make appointments, lifetime appointments of judges because we want them to make tough decisions. And he's made some tough decisions. I've appeared in front of him many times as well. And frankly, every time I walk in the courtroom as a defense lawyer and I see him on the bench, I'm a little concerned because his reputation and indeed his actions is just the opposite of what's being presented in the press. He's a law and order judge. He's a tough guy. He's somebody who gives some very tough sentences, holds people on high bails a lot, and he's usually not the guy I want to be in front of because of that. He has a reputation of being somewhat pro-government in all of his rulings. What's being presented in the press is dead wrong in terms of the person who's in that courtroom. And, the taint on his reputation is just outrageous. He happens to be a very good judge. He happens to be a very thoughtful judge. And he also happens to be a very tough judge. And that's from somebody who's appeared in front of him a lot.
Lieutenant Governor, Councilor Casey, and Councilor.
Lieutenant Governor, this boils down to judicial accountability, which is something that the Commonwealth of Massachusetts does not have. There is no meaningful review of our lifetime appointed judges. They're appointed for life and they are never reviewed again. The review consists of a private process that is not made known to the public. And when we have instances where I just went to a ceremony for Officer Tarantino, who was shot in the back after a routine traffic stop in Auburn by a career criminal walked out of court on personal recognizance one afternoon and went on to kill that young officer, and seeing his family at that ceremony and reading the inappropriate comments, might be talking about a very good judge, but what I read in the paper, if it was accurate, that he said that he let this person out who pled guilty to possession of heroin and intent to distribute heroin because he was selling it to support his family. I have a big problem with that. But whether he had good reason to do what he did, his comments were most inappropriate. And then you talk about the reduction of bail. What we need to do in this Commonwealth, and I've been asking for this for years, and now I have some senators on board who want to sponsor legislation to require some type of meaningful judicial review where judges have to come back before this council, and it will take a constitutional amendment, but it has to happen to require them to be reaffirmed as judges, whether it's 6 years, 7 years, whatever it is. We don't have any meaningful review of our judges. There is no judicial accountability, and that's the problem. And that's where we come back to after we read after every tragedy. Officer Gannon, Officer Tarantino, this heroin dealer who's let out after pleading guilty, who knows what he put out on the streets. You know, this happens in every court. That's why we need mandatory minimums on drug sentencing and career criminals. But we need meaningful judicial accountability. And I hope my colleagues would support that initiative, work with the legislature. I started doing it, and we don't want to elect our judges, but it's high time we have some accountability. Speaking to the chiefs of police in this Commonwealth, enough is enough. They have to be brought back to answer for their decisions. And they can explain. This gives them a forum to explain their decisions, where they can't do so with the media.
I simply was bringing the process to the attention of the governor so that he would be ready to bring it to us. I have been lobbying for a term for the judges rather than a lifetime, because sometimes a road changes people. Obviously, this happened, and it might be. I talked to the head of the judicial courts, and it was within the law to give probation. It might be right, but it's wrong. It might be legal, but it's wrong. And the other thing I want is I want the legislature to change the sentencing guidelines so this doesn't happen again. But I think there's three things. I mean, this is going to have a bill of address for the House and Senate, go to the governor, and it goes to us. But I just want the governor to be aware to follow this so that we can do it expediently. We have wonderful judges that would never, ever, take this route to have a drug dealer be on probation and to say he provided for his family. I mean, how many people have died because of this drug dealer? I've had two friends that just recently, a month ago, my friend Kate from Westboro and my friend from Watertown, Francis, that they found their son overdose. And it's despicable. And he was concerned, Judge Feely was concerned if he gave him prison time, he would be deported. Can you believe it? So I'm just saying that is improper. It is improper. It might be legal, but it's improper. And I just think we do have a process, and I gave you the how it is the removal of judges, and I will give it to everyone here in this room. And there is a process. It's not going to happen overnight, but I just want to give heads up to the governor. I have talked with Representative Lyons. This is not a Republican issue. It's not a Democratic issue, and we have to work together to get this through the House and Senate, so we can go to the governor and go to us ultimately that we take the vote. As I said, we have wonderful judges, and I'm so proud of the ones that I have voted for. So I don't want this to be anything said badly about our judges, but I think we should have terms. I really do, and we can't do that. We can't do that here, and I've been talking about that since I first got elected. So I didn't want to belabor this, but why there was a discussion, all I did was bring the information to you and the governor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Governor. I appreciate your passion, Governor Devane. Would you like to let us know how you voted on this judge since you were sitting on the council?
I'm sorry, what?
How did you vote on him since you were sitting on the council? Would you clarify us?
You know, Cat Cristobal, this man.
I didn't ask you. I
This man
asked.
had a history of getting the bad guys. His whole his whole legal life, he has been a criminal prosecutor. So he has just flipped. So no one had a crystal ball because he presented himself in a different manner. So you don't have a crystal ball, we don't. That's why we need terms. That's why we need terms so that we can.
So I just, in response, that was a yes or no question, like you've been asking the people who've been sitting here for the last few weeks. But the point being is that they don't have crystal balls, and maybe the judge made a mistake, just like the person.
But how many mistakes?
Wait,
Counselor Devaney, all we did was ask if you voted for
Everyone's
him.
had a chance to speak except who's wanting to speak.
Thank you.
And Councilor Lee, you'll have the last word.
I would just say that if you want to talk about a bad judge, let's talk about Thomas Estes. He is a disgrace.
Amen.
And I am somewhat disappointed that the Supreme Judicial Court has not acted quicker in his case. His actions were inexcusable. They were absolutely immoral, unethical, and he should not be collecting a paycheck. That's what I have a problem with. A judge who clearly violated every boundary of appropriate conduct as a judge. And I would ask the Lord above to inspire the SJC to move it, because this guy doesn't deserve another dime. And I was a judge for 20 years. This is not the way judges act, but this guy he should have resigned in disgrace. And he's just sitting there collecting a paycheck. And I do think that we have to do something to speed up the process for removal of judges. Thank you.
Lieutenant Governor, I forgot to say, I heard the tape on the radio of Judge Feely, what he said to the drug dealer. So this isn't hearsay. There was a tape of it. So I do want to say that. And I called the head of the courts because I wanted to have him put out on paid administrative leave until we got through this process. But I was told he acted within the law, so I couldn't do that. So I think we have a process, there's a bill of address that Representative Lyons has filed. And we should all support it, Republicans, Democrats, it's not a party issue. This is fairness, this is a travesty of justice, and I thank you people for supporting this.
Okay, I guess the final word from that being Councilor.
We all forget our history. We have one of the finest judicial systems in the United States. Used from a model and has been used from a model with other states in reforming the judiciary. And the reason I suggest ours works so well is because John Adams had the idea that judges sit for life, like the federal judges. And that is because he knew that there would be just discussions like this when the judge made a correct but unpopular decision, or when the press took and ran with it. And he wanted judges to sit without fear of losing their position if they made a decision that the press ran away with and criticized. Once you take that away, judges are going to be afraid to make any decision. We're going to have a terrible judiciary. So let's stick with our system that's worked. John Adams said, of course, that's worked well.
That concludes our business today, and I thank you for the discussion and your work.
Did I set the time?
Yes, you did. It is 11 o'clock.